have cards in them.
Cards are the main component. You can have other stuff.
No other stuff. Just cards. Maybe some tracking tokens. That's it.
That's what it is.
No.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Flipside. I'm Sam.
I'm JT.
And this here is our top 5 card games.
Yep.
What you may think is that a card game is where you simply have a bunch of cards in your hand and then you just play them. Right?
That's what a card game is?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so what's a card game?
Well, I mean, that's sure. There's a lot of cards there's a lot of games like that.
Yeah, I know. So what if you're putting those cards down into like a grid?
Not a tableau builder.
A 4x4 grid.
Oh, I don't know.
That's a card game.
Yeah.
That's
what do you got going on here?
I don't know.
He's trying to set us up, people.
I'm not trying to set nothing up. I got 5 card games right here.
Right.
I had the heaviest game on last, but it was a whopping 2.33. So these are lighter games. And I think
very light.
That kind of holds true. So there is a line to be drawn in the sand somewhere, but I drew it differently and he drew it.
I'll draw a line here. If it comes in a box bigger than this, it's not a card game.
That is not true.
There you go.
All right, my number 5 is another card game. The cards are not your regular size or shape or anything like that. They're more squarish. But your cards make up your hand, and they represent the different levels that you can put into your Imperial Mine. Imperial Miners is a card game. This isn't a card game as far as he's concerned. There are a few tokens that you have to use to track this or that in your mine as you get down, but generally speaking, the main mechanism of this game is card play. You're putting the cards into hand management is another way that you could probably put it. You're putting the different cards in your hand in different levels in your mine, and then you're sending your miners to work in those different rooms as you track back up to the surface, and you're basically just trying to score the most points by the end. You're getting these different civilizations to synergize with each other, the different abilities of each room that you can fire off, and some of them rely upon how many different civilizations are represented in your mine. But it's a really fun card game as far as I'm concerned. Not a traditional card game, I get it, but it is definitely main mechanism is card or main component is cards. So made the list for me.
That is true.
Number 5,
main component
Imperial
is cards.
Settlers.
Yes, fair enough. I'm not gonna say anything bad. I'm just gonna go on.
Well, it's like kicking a dead horse at this point.
Well, see, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. It's going to hurt my toe. All right, my number 5. And you'll have to go back. I don't want to spoil the other list, but we had a whole conversation about lane battlers. My number 5 is the last lane battler in this list, and it is Air, Land, and Sea Critters at War. This is
Critters
from
at
Arcane
War.
Wonders. This is one of the coolest lane battlers there is, and this is really one of the coolest lane battlers there is. When you play this, there's an air, a land, and a sea, basically theater of war.
Yeah.
You're going to get 6 cards. There's only 18 cards in the deck. You're going to get 6 cards. The other person's going to get 6 cards, and you're basically playing chicken because your job is to try to win more of those lanes than the other person. And every one of your cards has a special ability on it, so timing of playing that card may make a big difference. They range in numbers from like 1 to 6. So if I have the 6, obviously more than likely, right, it's not going to have as cool as ability as the 1 is.
Sure.
You can also play cards down flipped over, and they're worth 2 points each, but you don't know what's underneath. But there are cards where you're like, I'm going to play this one down face down over here. He's going to think it's a 2. And then I'm going to play a card next to it, and the next one lets me flip over a card, in an adjacent lane, and all of a sudden it's my 6 or something like that. So there's this really cool battle here. But the interesting thing about it is you have 6 cards, and of course if both of us put out all 6 of our cards, Whoever has the most lanes wins 6 points.
Sure.
And you only need 12 points to win the game. But at any point during the game, if you're like, I cannot win this hand or I'm going to lose, you can bow out. And if you bow out, the other person might get 2 or 3 or 4 points, but they don't get a full 6 points.
Got it.
So if you want to really play it to the end and think, oh, I can really eke this one out.
You can retreat.
Yeah, you can retreat.
There you go.
You can tactically retreat from this, and it's really quite thinky when you're like, oh, am I going to win? I got a really bad hand, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many of these cards, because it depends on how many cards you play out before you retreat to how many points they get. So
yeah, that's cool.
It's a really cool game. Like I said, you only have 6 cards to play with. So
I don't think I've ever played this.
It's really cool.
That sounds fun. All right, my number 4 is a card game, dadgummit.
Woohoo! I'm so excited.
And it feels like a trick taker.
Nice.
But it kind of isn't.
Uh-oh, is this like Outer Rim or something?
No! Outer Rim! No! This is called Pies. It feels like a trick-taking game, but it really kind of isn't. You're playing cards out into a trick, but the person who played the highest valued card gets to first choice at taking the card that they want and putting it into their tableau. And your tableau is a bunch of different ingredients that you're going to be using to make different pies. And so some of the cards that you're going to be taking have recipes on them. What cards do they want for you to build, for you to make that pie and score those points for the end of the game. Other ones are different things, like you can get these pie tokens, and they will add 3.14 to the next card that you play it onto. Some of them will give you a little doggy token that will protect your pies so that other people can't steal some of your ingredients. And then some other cards will give you the ability to steal somebody else's ingredients at the table. So it's all of this. You basically play through 3 rounds, 3 decks. And once you've played through all 3 decks, you see who has the most points in baked pies, and that's who the winner is. But it's a really fun game. It's got this really kind of old-style, traditional-looking artwork to it that just gives it a little bit of a regal air, but I really enjoy it. It's a very fun game. It does well with people who like trick takers, even though it isn't technically a trick-taking game. It just feels like it. Really enjoy this one a lot.
Trying to look up something, because this
number
one didn't
4.
show up on my list when I was looking at games. This one's a pretty fun game. I only played it once, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's got some really cool mechanics, so I really like that you popped that out of there. And unfortunately, I don't know why that reminded me, but I forgot to consider Xylotar for my list here, which was a mistake.
That is a mistake. Xylotar's a fun game.
But yeah, Pies was quite fun. That's cool you put that on there, because I forgot all about it. All right. That's awesome. And I forgot Xylotar. My bad.
I did too.
I'll swap his 6 out with Xylotar.
No,
Then it'll all be good.
Okay, well, yeah, I might be all right with that, actually.
All right, here we go. My number 4 is a card game that's not Sam's favorite. And the more I play this, the more I really love it.
Say it ain't so.
Starts with an F, and it's called Far Away. Far Away is such a neat little card game.
Max, cut it out. You have a scratching post in the other room, stupid.
It's going nuts.
All right, go ahead.
All right. My number 4 is a really cool game that's called Far Away. Far Away.
I get why people like this game.
Such a cool game.
It's so hard for me to wrap my head around it.
In Far Away, you start out with a couple of cards in your hand, but basically after you play the first card, you're going to be drafting a card every round. You're going to play until every person has 8 cards played down, and every round you're going to play 1 down. So you're going to play 8 cards. The way that the cards work is you're going to get there's some set collection on different symbols that might trigger cards to score. Every card, or 90% of the cards, have a scoring mechanism on them. This one may need 6 of the monolith-looking things to score, but the score's big, right? But the trick about the way this scores is every single card from the first one you play down all the way to the end have different scoring criteria. But when you go to score the game, and there's also these little Destiny cards, and they're not called Destiny cards, but there's also these little cards that sit on the bottom that will also help you fulfill what you have on your cards. But when you get done with the 8 rounds, you're going to flip all of your cards over, and you're going to score them from back to front. So the last card you played scores first, which means that none of the symbols played prior to that count towards fulfilling that card. So you're playing to fulfill each card in order, knowing that your last cards, you've got to play specific things there, or you've got to try to find specific things there so that you can actually score them, and they may be smaller, but you might have some really big ones up front. So you score the first card, and then you get to flip over the second card, and then it gets to use everything that's on that card and then on your special cards as well. So it's got this really, really thinky scoring thing going on.
Too thinky.
It's really, really fun.
Too thinky.
I'm
convinced.
Really cute.
I could be wrong, but I'm convinced that just certain kinds of people, or certain, I don't know if it's right or left-brained, but certain kinds of people will be drawn to this game because of how you have to think almost in reverse.
Yeah, that's possible.
I have a really hard time doing that.
It's really neat.
But
it's really neat.
It is what it is. I know people love it. I just can't wrap my head around it. But it's a good game.
Yep.
Just not for me. All right, my number 3 is a card drafting game. There are no less than, I believe, 4 different ways that you draft cards in this game. And cards are the absolute only thing that you're using in the game, except for little tokens to mark your scores and keep track of how much stuff you have. So that's it. Everything else is cards. This one's called Comic Hunters. It's one of my... I just took it to Comic-Con the other day, hopefully hoping to try to get it played, but the one game that we chose, it took up all of our time, so I didn't get to play it. But this is one that I took, wanting to play it, and a couple other ones on my list, actually, are ones that I took as well, just because I wanted to play them again. But this is a really fun... I love card drafting, period. And it's one of my favorite mechanisms. And this game is nothing but card drafting. Different kinds of card drafting, and that's another cool thing about it. It's like, kind of like with one of my other ones on the bottom 5, it feels like you have a bunch of different games packed into one. And that's what Comic Hunters feels like for me. On top of that, I love all the artwork of the actual comics and the front pages of all of the comics that are used in the game, and the real comics. They're not just made up, they're not generic or anything like that. I love that as well. But the component quality is laxing, I guess. And that's not the right word, but it's lacking.
Sure.
It's
not
lacking.
Anymore. Go to Etsy.
Yeah, if you go to Etsy, there's a lot of people out there that are making component upgrades for Comic Hunters, and that's a fix for it. But I really enjoy this game a lot. That's my number 3, Comic Hunters.
Number 3, indeed. And what a great game. I was looking back because you said that you took it up there with you. Yep. Every single one of these games on this list, and maybe that's how I differentiate card games, is something I could throw in my pocket and I will take anywhere. Many of these games are games that I throw in my backpack when we go on the cruise or when I go on a trip or whatever else.
Yeah.
I got multiple of these little games in my backpack ready to play. So.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. My number 3 is my favorite competitive trick taker still. And there are a couple out there that I still want to play that I haven't played yet that I'm really excited to get to, but are hard to get a hold of and stuff like that. But this is my favorite competitive trick takers at this point, and this is called Skull King. Skull King is such a fun, rip-roaring, laughing your heads off type of trick-taking game, and it is intense. Like, the way that Skull King works is you have normal suits, just like in any other game. You have the black suit, which is the one that trumps all of the normal suits.
Yeah.
But then you have pirates, which trump all of those suits, but there's not as many pirates in there. You have the Skull King in the deck, and he trumps everything except for the mermaids, and there's a couple of mermaids in there that trump the Skull King. And there's just this, and there's also white flags that you can just throw to kind of throw a trick. But the way the game plays is you start the first hand. The first hand is you get one card. So, and before you get a start, you have to bid on whether or not you think you're going to get, how many tricks you're going to get or not.
Sure.
And so the first hand you get one card, second hand you get 2 cards, all the way up to the 10th hand when you get 10 cards. But each hand you're bidding on how many tricks you get. If you get your number of tricks, and there are bonus points and stuff like that you're getting from the mermaids and the Skull King and all that kind of stuff. But if you get your number of tricks hit right on the dot, then you get 10 points for each of them. If you don't, you're going to get a whole bunch of negative points.
Sure.
So this is one where your point totals are going to do this throughout the entire game. Everybody's going to be laughing and crying at the table at the same time. It's just a blast to play. It's got really good artwork. Yeah, I really love Skull King.
That's cool. Yeah. My number 2 is a card game. I feel like I'm under attack.
Say that out. No,
because I have to say it every single time.
I think you feel guilty.
No, I do not feel guilty.
I think it's all built off of guilt.
I don't think so.
I'm still going to look up that Pies game because I was curious. But go ahead. Keep talking. I'm listening.
My number 2 is a card game that might not fit in my back pocket, but it is definitely a box full of cards. And that is called Forest Shuffle. Now, again, what you're doing here is you're building up your tableau and your tableau is basically your forest, and you're trying to populate your forest with a bunch of trees, but that's not it. You're also trying to put down a bunch of different flora and fauna that's in there as well to populate your forest with little bushes and little critters that live in those bushes and birds that live up in the foliage of the trees and different animals that are walking throughout your forest. And I just have really enjoyed this game over the last few months. I was introduced to it at Dice Tower East, and I hit the ground running as far as that's concerned. I saw at Essen they had another expansion come out for it, so I'm really jonesing to get that as well. But this has just been a really fun game for us, and it's one of the only games that I absolutely purchased sleeves for at the same time. I did not wait, did not see, because the card quality on purpose was they wanted to use environmentally friendly things for their cards. Fine and dandy.
So they just made them poor quality?
Yeah, that's pretty much. I don't know. That's pretty much what it turned out to be.
I don't know if those two things have to go.
They don't necessarily have to, but we put sleeves in it from the very beginning. Still a really fun game, though. Once you put cards on it, the card quality is good enough. So that's my number 2, Forest Shuffle.
All right, my number 2 is my new Cult of the New game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this game so much. We're killing it too. But this is called Kinfire Chronicles.
Ooh.
In Kinfire Chronicles, you have a central deck, which is the bad guy's deck, basically, that you're trying to defeat. And you have 2 character decks, and so you play cooperatively, playing cards out of your deck to combat the cards in the central area until you have to reduce that deck to nothing before your health of 10 points, which is collective between you, runs out. Once you get it down to nothing, there's a boss card that comes out, and he has little minion cards around them, and you have to defeat them and defeat the boss. The boss is immune to attack.
So you collectively have 10 hit points? Mm-hmm. Or you each have 10?
No, you collectively have 10 hit points. As a group, you have 10 hit points.
Ooh.
And you can play this 2 to 4 players, but as a group, you have 10 hit points.
You need some health potions.
Yeah, there are a few ways to heal, but not a lot. But you get down to the boss, and his 4, there's 3 different colors of cards, blue, red, and green. And his 4 guys around him will be in those colors. But the boss is completely immune to any damage until if you defeat the red minion, then you can finally use red cards to attack the boss with. But that last little phase is quite brutal to to get through. But this is a really cool game. The card quality is fantastic. The art and the gold foiling on the cards and stuff like that is gorgeous. We are really, really digging this game.
Cool.
Fire Chronicles.
All right, good pick. My number 1. It is a smaller box game.
All right.
Not quite your back pocket, but definitely backpack. And this is one of the ones I took to Comic-Con this weekend. Didn't get it played, but I would say 9 times out of 10, if you ask me to play this game, I will play it. And if I don't, it's because I'm already playing a game somewhere else or some other kind of reason like that. But if I'm not playing a game and somebody says, hey, will you teach me this or will you play this with us? Yes, I will. Gnar. Gnar is one of my favorite games right now. Yes, it's Viking themed. Yes, it has great artwork. But the fact that it's a race to 40 points and how you can generate those, it really kind of starts off, I call it a slow burn, because it starts off pretty slow with how fast you can get points. But then once you round about 15 or 20, you're going to zip around to 40 really fast. So it kind of ramps up as far as how fast it plays as the game goes on. But I just really enjoy how this game plays, and I also enjoy the aesthetic look of the game as well. My copy doesn't have the neat little printed tokens and all of that kind of stuff. So I've got the OG. Everybody else got the updated one as far as I'm concerned. But not too happy about that. But it's okay. It's all right. It still plays the same. But I just really enjoy this game a lot. Using your cards, your crew members, to go off on these different journeys, and these different journey cards are going to be added to your top sale and can score you different points as you go off in different trading things. It's just a really fun game. I enjoy this game so much for the artwork, the gameplay, the ease. It has so much game packed into this game, into such a little box. It's just a mystery almost how much game they packed into this little card game. But that's my number 1, Gnar.
Yeah, Gnar's a great game. What's the weight on Gnar?
Gnar,
it's fairly light.
1.9.
Yeah.
Very light. That's out of 5. 1.9 out of 5. Very light.
I really like Gnar. Gnar's a fantastic game. And it comes in a pretty small box.
It does.
So, but, okay. Well, what's my number 1?
The Crew.
Yeah, that's right. The Crew. Mission Deep Sea. I think I played The Crew more than any other game I've ever owned in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty sure.
Man.
But anyways, yeah, The Crew Mission Deep Sea. That is my number 1, my favorite card game. Enough to where I think I need to buy a new copy because I'm pretty sure mine's pretty wore out. But no, you just keep on going until it dies. But yeah, I love this game. It's a cooperative trick-taking game where you can't talk to each other to tell each other what you have in your hand. There's limited communication where you can mark a card as being your highest, your only, or your lowest card in your hand. But you can only mark 1 card per hand, and you're going to be dealt as a group certain, depending on what level you're playing, but certain amount of objective cards, and you're basically going to say, as the captain, yes, I can do one of these objectives, or no, I can't, but everybody's going to get to pick, and some people are going to have to accomplish. This person's going to have to get a blue 9 and a yellow 7 for you guys to win, and this person has to win all the blue cards. You're kind of messed up at that point because you're not going to win that one. No, but everybody has to collectively play out their cards in a normal trick-taking fashion, and try to get the right cards to the right people. And it's super fun. It's always a blast, and it's hard to stop playing once you start. So
I agree.
That's my number 1.
That's
Crew
a good
Mission
pick.
Deep Sea.
That's a good pick. All right. Well, that is our top 5 card games. I think I had a more liberal view
That's all right.
of what a card game was. JT had a more traditional view.
That's right.
Of what a card game is. You know, I had a little bit more of a loosey-goosey version of what card games are, and he had a little bit more of a traditional version. So, main thing I was going for was that the main thing that you're playing with, using in the game, is cards. And he went a little bit more stringent on that, which is absolutely cool because you guys can do your own homework.
You know I'm right.
I was going to say you can do your own homework and figure
Tell us
out
down
who's
below
right.
which ones we missed. Xylotar should have made this list. That is a super fun
Yeah, we
game.
both missed that one,
Yeah,
didn't we?
That was ridiculous.
Dang it.
That one's super fun.
Absolutely, we'll use that as an honorable mention for both of our lists. Xylotar is a great little fun game from Buzzy A Games, and it has it's a trick taker, and it has great hidden information because you're going to order your hand from smallest to largest, and then you're going to hand it to the person on your left, and they have to put it face down without seeing what the numbers are.
Yep.
They can see the colors, and the colors all have a range of numbers. But
which is amazing.
Yeah, it's such a really cool game. So that is definitely an honorable mention. Should have probably been on both of our lists, but we both forgot it. So apologies to Bezier Games, but that's a great little fun game. You need to go check that out if you can. With that being said, if you didn't watch our bottom five, you can go over to the Dice Hour and check that out. But we're out of here. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.
Always carry a card game with you, just in case.
Just in case.